Okay, we're going to look at dividing and dividing fractions here. Now, when you go 6 divided by 2, um, there's different ways of explaining what the answer is, and maybe you could think of a couple of different ways. When you go 6 divided by a half, um, a lot of people might think they know the answer. Sometimes they would get it wrong, but not many people would be very good at explaining why the answer is what it is. And we're going to learn why dividing fractions. And uh, the rule for dividing fractions which is you turn the fraction upside down and multiply, why it works. So let's take a look at this. 6 divided by 2. One way of looking at it is just saying how many groups of 2 fit into 6. And there's 1, 2, 3 groups of 2 that fit into 6. That's why the answer is 3. If you have 6 pieces of chocolate, you'd break it into groups of 2. Even if you had a number line from 1 to 6, you can see it breaks into groups of 2 there. You could think of the number 6 being separated into 3 groups of 2. Sort of works, you see it on the number line. Okay, now let's take a look at this. If we go 6 divided by a half, some people might think 6 cut in half is 3. Well, that's just not going to work. What it's really asking is, first, let us think about how many times a half goes into 1 unit. Well, there's 2 halves in 1. And then, but you've got 6 units here. Well, look, you've got 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Hey, you clearly have 12 halves in 6 units. So you go 6 times 2. That's why the answer is 12. You're asking how many times does a half go into 6? There's 2 in each unit, and there's 6 units. 6 times 2 equals 12. How about a third? Well, the same story. You see, each unit, 6 divided by a third, each unit has 3. And there's 6 units. That's 6 times 3 equals 18. Well, this should make sense too here. If we go 6 divided by 100, each unit's got 100 in it. And there's 6 of those units, so 6 times 100, there'd be 600 pieces. Well, that's why we have to turn it upside down and then we multiply. We invert and multiply. It explains why you tip in times. In South Africa and Canada, we invert and multiply. Okay. Let's take a look at this. We're going to think of 6 divided by 2/3. Well, we still think about how many thirds are there. Well, just like we did before, there's 3 in each unit. 6, there's 18 thirds. The question is, how many groups of 2/3 go in there? So you'd kind of take a third and paste it together. Let's look for groups of 2/3. Well, there's 2, there's 2, there's 2, there's 2, there's 2. There's 9 groups of 2/3. So we can see the answer is 9. But hey, okay, there was 18 thirds, but then we're grouping them in 2. So how many groups of 2/3? 18 divided by 2 gives you 9. But it explains why. We're explaining why we tip in times. We have to turn it upside down, multiply it straight across. This 3 gets multiplied by 6, and then we divide by the 2. That's why you tip in times. And that's the first part. The first part of what we're going to do. Okay.